This is Y376 International Political Economy, October 30, 2008. Who is Tom Friedman? Well, he's a columnist for the New York Times. Became famous for his coverage of the Arab-Israeli conflict. His book, The Lexus and the Olive Tree, was a bestseller and was the beginning of his consideration of globalization issues. In The World is Flat, Friedman talks about three phases of globalization. From 1492 to 1800, he calls globalization 1.0. From 1800 to 2000, he calls globalization 2.0, and 2000 to the present, globalization 3.0. He sees that second phase as driven by multinational corporations. The third phase driven by empowered individuals from countries outside both the United States and Western Europe. Here's his definition of flatness. The net result of this convergence was the creation of a global, web-enabled playing field that allows for multiple forms of collaboration, the sharing of knowledge and work in real time without regard to geography, distance, or in the near future, even language. No, not everyone has access yet to this platform, this playing field, but it is open today to more people in more places on more days, in more ways than anything like it ever before in the history of the world. This is what I mean when I say the world has been flattened. Here are 10 flatteners in the book: the end of the Cold War, the beginning of viral marketing, the invention of workflow software and supporting systems, the rise of open source software, the outsourcing of work by multinational corporations to low-wage workers in India and China, the offshoring of certain important operations by multinationals, the rise of complex international supply chains for many products and services, the rise of insourcing and informing. Viral marketing is the distribution of free software and services to create a platform for selling other things. An example would be the Mosaic browser, which later became the Netscape Navigator browser, originally distributed for free and then spread very rapidly, and other ways of recovering the money for creating that software were devised by the Netscape company. Similarly, some recording studios and artists provide free downloads on iTunes in order to sort of prime the market for paid music. Example would be the initially free distribution of an album by the band called Radiohead. And similarly, you see basically Google provides searches for free in exchange for exposing you to advertisements on the right side of the Google search page. This is a chart that illustrates an application of workflow software to a medical office, and basically the idea is you analyze the paper flow and try to figure out how to rationalize it, how to make it more efficient. Here is some discussion about open source software. The free software, open source software movement has to do with whether it's a good idea to write software within an organization or across organizations. The people who believe in open source say you get much better software if you have collaboration across organizations, and so the whole way of doing that has to be reorganized to make that possible. Two pioneers are Linus Torvalds, who is the creator of Linux, and that penguin is the symbol of Linux, and Richard Stallman, who's the leader of the free software movement, posing in his comical pose as Saint Ignatius. Outsourcing is a subcontracting process such as product design or manufacturing to a third party. It does not have to be outside of the country. So, for example, when Wyeth Pharmaceuticals in the United States transferred its clinical testing operations to Accenture, that would be an example of domestic outsourcing. Offshoring is when you relocate a business process from one country to another. So an example would be the assembly of Apple iPods in China, the establishment of call centers for American Express in India, the contracting out of disk drive manufacturing by Seagate to Singaporean contractors, or the manufacturing of Sony LCD TVs in Korea by Korean contractors, in that case mainly Samsung. So here's a map of India showing the city of Bangalore, which is a major place where business process outsourcing occurs. And there's a picture of the technology park in below an ancient temple in Bangalore. Two major companies, Indian companies in Bangalore, engage in business process outsourcing, Infosys and Wipro. And if you can click through to find out more about those companies if you like. Complex supply chains have to do with how components or subcomponents get sourced to different firms or contractors before the final product can be assembled. So in the picture here we have the example of a candy bar, Cadbury Schweppes, fruit and nut bar, for which you have to find sources for chocolate, cocoa, almonds and raisins, and before you can assemble the final bar for sale to consumers. Insourcing is the penetration of firms by other firms that provide services and logistical support inside the firm. A prime example would be Electronic Data Systems, the firm founded by Ross Perot, which basically does computer stuff for companies that don't want to bother with the computer stuff. But basically the EDS employee works inside your firm to make sure that your computing operations run smoothly. In the case of Dell Computers, Dell has basically given all of its logistics functions to UPS. So UPS delivers the Dell computers to you and even fixes them if they don't work. Informing is basically a word that Friedman invented to stand for the creation of search engines and portals like Google and Yahoo, and he claims that this was essential to making the fruits of the internet available to everyone. I think he's right. But anyway, there's pictures of Larry Page and Sergey Brin, the founders of Google, and Jerry Yang, the founder of Yahoo.